Welcome to the newest episode of Soul Reboot. I am your host, Alyson Charles. Now my next two guests, that's right, my next two guests have been best friends since the age of 6, and they have been one of the leaders in bringing back to normalcy the healing power of crystals and all the ways that you can work with them with their company, Energy Muse. On top of all of that, they're also mothers and entrepreneurs. I have a lot of questions for Heather Askinosie and Timmi Jandro. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Hi. I am so happy to reunite with you queens.
Wow.
I met you in New York,
yes.
And then I was just like, oh my gosh, we didn't have a proper long enough conversation.
No,
so
we didn't.
Too quick. Today is the day. And guess what? I've been dying all day to tell you guys this. You have landed in the most perfect spot for this interview because guess what this studio used to be?
What?
A crystal store.
No way! Call this back.
That is amazing.
Wow, that's great.
Isn't that wild?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's so interesting because obviously Soul Reboot is talking to, all sorts of people, but people that are really on the awakening path and do the consciousness work in various forms. But a lot of the shows that film out of here, it's very elevated and high vibe. And I just find it fascinating. It makes sense that a previous crystal shop would draw that kind of content.
That's the best story.
We love that.
Thank you.
Of course. Now, crystals weren't always the thing, at least not outwardly expressed. Of course, you were sent here on this mission. It was within you. But you used to do high-end real estate, and you were working in the garment industry. So at what point did your soul start to activate enough to be like, you ladies need to go over here and start working with crystals? How did that happen?
Well, our journeys are very different. What you'll learn about Heather and I is that we probably come to the same solution at the end of the day, but we get there very differently. So I am very linear. This Timmi is a very linear soul over here, although she does like to carry her blue lace agate.
Which I love.
Okay, and so what happened is I was just completely disarrayed in the garment industry, making tons of money. The defining moment was my life was falling apart. I was traveling up a storm. My marriage was falling apart. I was never at home. But it was always good. Don't ask me why. The financial part of my life, which I've always had to figure out the balance between the finance and the love. And so I got out of the business because I was completely burned out. And Heather.
And you just knew, you just reached a point where you're just like, I have to get out. I have to.
I had nothing left in my soul to give.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing. I was like, when you go to work and you're like, if you love what you do every day, it's not like going to work.
Totally.
I did not want to go
Case
anymore.
in point, what we're doing right now.
Exactly. It wasn't feeding my soul, and something was calling me to do something more. And I needed to work on my marriage. It was either I stop working in the garment business and stay home and focus on my husband, or I was going to get a divorce. So.
Okay, well, that'll do it. And then what about for you?
Wow, I was sorry, I was a little wrapped up. Oh my God, are you okay?
Your hands are cold.
Anyway, so you know what? I think for me at the time I was selling high-end real estate. I met a man who was a CFO of a Fortune 500 company, and he said, look, I want to buy a house with good feng shui. And I'm like, say what? Feng shui? This is 27 years ago.
I love it.
And so back then, that was a little odd. So I went down this path of learning about this science. And what happened is I started making a lot of money, and on paper, kind of similar to Timmi, I looked amazing. I had a house by the beach. I was making a ton of money.
All
I had
the check marks.
Wardrobe, check. Really hot boyfriend, not that, it was toxic, check.
Yeah.
Partying till the gills, check. Living it all up. And I remember getting this really big check one day, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, I felt so empty. And as a Scorpio, and I think I was going through my Saturn return, which is always fun around 28, 29.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? Something doesn't feel right. And I ended up going on this journey. I learned how to I met this Ayurvedic man, and he said, you are at a fork in the road, and you are going to crash and burn if you continue to do what you're doing. And he said, you need to learn how to meditate. So that week, I booked a flight to Canada, in the middle of nowhere, went to this Maharishi place. There
Yeah.
was no biohacking back then. I didn't have like an amp coil to put on me or
I
like
had one of my guests brought an amp coil here.
which are rad. And I didn't have like an infrared light to like biohack me. I had to go in silence and learned how to meditate. And it was like nails on a chalkboard. I was like, let me out, let me out, get me out. But I was in the middle of nowhere. And 5 days later, I came out rebirthed in a way.
Yeah, you did.
And it started my journey. And I ended up going to a crystal store, and I saw this crystal, and it was really pretty, and it had me at hello.
Which one was it?
Amethyst, which is right here.
Course.
Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't a pretty story. It was, and I have to say, being in this industry and doing what we've done, we've been doing this 17 years. And what's happened now is that people will talk about it, but we've been in business 17 years and we've been selling crystals to the top people in every industry on the planet.
Right.
But it was too taboo for people to talk about it. It was
Well,
secrets.
Exactly.
You know?
And I actually wanted to touch upon that. How, or were you always taken seriously?
No,
No.
we're still not taken seriously.
The doors were shut left and right. It was very hard.
And so
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your resiliency and your dedication to just be staying aligned with your truth and doing what you knew you were here to do. So touch upon that a little bit if you can. Like, how did you stay the course when, when you said doors were being shut in your face? Were there times where you just felt like, oh my gosh, this is too exhausting, or you thought of giving up?
Yeah, because we were completely burned out. It was almost like Heather and I would look at each other and go, someone's just dangling this carrot in front of us. Okay, we'll try it another month. We'll try this out. But I mean, at one point, we were $250,000 in debt. And Heather and I were wondering, why did this happen? So what did we do to get out of this? We probably did the most unbusiness-like thing you would think of. We went and did a show down in Mexico where we were trying to sell our line wholesale to a whole new market.
Okay.
And we went down there and we were all gung-ho. And at that point, like, this is going to turn our business around. And it was a complete bust because everyone that was trying to get our line would have to import it and the cost was too high.
Oh, wow.
So Heather and I were like, great, we're going to have to go home with our tail between our legs. We're now still in debt and we have no hope ahead of us. But what happened was pretty remarkable. We met this lady who is a healer. She happened to be at this show, and she took us on this journey to some of the most amazing places down in Tulum. And we went and bathed in the sweet waters, and we made wishes, and we were with this, this medicine man who ran a Temescal with us. And we came home, and David Beckham was wearing our jewelry, and literally our business turned around overnight. But what I think that taught us is, even though Mexico and going to this show seemed like the worst thing to do, spending more money when you have no money, it was exactly what we needed to do because we were following our hearts and our path. And
I think also, I mean, along the way, and granted, it's been brutal. I mean, you don't get on this spiritual path if you're looking for rainbows and unicorns, because you get a glimpse of it, but then it's like, oh, great, and now let's go a deeper level. But for Timmi and I, we always had fun. I mean, we're just big dorky geeks, and we just
Me too.
we laugh at ourselves. We really try not to take ourselves too seriously, and I think that's literally the only reason why because we could write a book on what not to do in business, and we've done it.
Right.
Yeah.
But we've been lucky because we've fumbled into some really good things. We've laughed. We've kept, I mean, to be best friends still after 17 years and still
Yes.
be like in business together and thriving, there's it was a deeper calling. And believe me, we tried to get out of it left and right, but there was a bigger plan for us. And so we're still here. Yay.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
And another big turning point, it seems like when you were creating these prosperity necklaces, right? Wasn't that another thing that was really conjuring a lot of success and kind of proving to some of those naysayers that there's actual things that do happen when you work with crystals? Can you talk about that necklace? Do you guys still have that available?
Oh, yeah.
It's so 17 years later, it's still one of the #1 selling pieces on our line.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so what crystals are in that necklace?
Well, basically that necklace is based on feng shui principles. And I'm very analytical. I'm a researcher. I'm all about prove it to me. And I'm very results driven. So if something doesn't work just because I'm busy, I'm married, I have kids, I've got a company, I don't have a lot of time to do things that don't work. So the daily rituals have to have a result. And one of the things I say is that Timmi and I don't sell a product, we sell a result. And so with that prosperity necklace, I created it and gave it to 10 people and asked them, tell me what happened in 10 days. If nothing happened, that's cool. But all 10 people came back and they said something did happen. I've got a new job, or I saw somebody who opened a door. And what happened is word got out on the street in Manhattan Beach, and people started telling other people, and it kind of got in the Hollywood circuit. And then it had this life on its own, word of mouth.
Incredible.
And so you wear it with intention and for a specific result. And
Wow.
That's why I loved it, because being more of a linear person, it's a crystal energy. There is a ritual that goes with it, and you set an intention and you wear it and you get a result. It's a formula.
I love it.
And it worked.
Right. And then I also read that back years ago, there was a family crisis that you were involved in, but crystals really came to your aid at that time.
Yeah.
Can you touch
Sure.
on that a little bit?
So another defining moment, again, not a unicorn and rainbow moment. My son was experiencing a lot of bad problems with drugs. And so as a mother, when you have this path, and again, being this linear person, we've got your whole life mapped out. You're going to college and this is what it's going to look like. Yet the kid was struggling.
Yeah.
And, thankfully I had Heather as part of my tribe to go, you're making a good decision here. And she believed in me and helped support me through all this. And I wore a lot of crystals, because during that time period, I was so beaten up. I had no self-worth as a mother. I've failed. My kid's going to rehab. I'm sending him to rehab to fix him. What I learned is you can't go fixing someone. It was a family dynamic.
Yep.
So we all had to go in and help each other. And crystals really helped keep my heart open, because I closed off. I was so distraught and worried and upset. I didn't want to love because I didn't have any more to give.
And I'm sure you were scared too.
Of course.
All the fear, and that's such a constricting energy system.
Absolutely.
Fear makes you go into yourself and get tight and clenched. And so what were a couple of the crystals that really helped you soften and open back up?
For me, rose quartz, because
Yeah.
rose quartz is like unconditional love. And at that moment, that's what I needed to bust my heart open and be compassionate to my son's journey and know we were going to get through it. And that I was going to be okay too, because I was going through the journey, and I was mirroring a lot of what was happening with him with self-worth issues. I'm like, you know what? It came from somewhere, right?
Right.
So I needed to nurture myself.
Well, good for you for facing some of those aspects within yourself and doing that really tough work.
It's still an ongoing process.
Of course.
It doesn't stop there,
Yeah, I say, on my website, I say our ability to evolve is infinite. And yeah, I mean, once you enter on, of course, it is a choice, but I think those of us that are at this point have been doing it for so many years, we're dedicated, and it never ends. The things that you can learn and face within yourself is truly infinite.
yeah.
And so speaking of that, with this unconventional, fun and exciting, unexpected life that you both have merged in and found yourselves on this path, what is something really cool that you've learned about yourself? This journey, it takes courage. Like I touched on before, resiliency. What's something along this, since Energy Muse has been born, where you're just like, wow, I'm really like, patting yourself on the back, like you learned something really cool about yourself?
Well, what I think we've learned is that we have a lot of information to share that could help people right now, especially because the human species right now is spinning.
Yeah.
And I think we could all help, but I feel that we really are shifting more to be in service to educate people on how they could use these tools inexpensively in a short amount of time, to remember that they are empowered. And so I feel for me personally, it's like every day I'm like, okay, I could go towards the love or I could go towards the fear. Where do I want to live? And I could plug into the light to let go of my darkness. And that's a daily cycle. So what we learn, we share. And I feel that that's really kind of, a big shift for us.
Well, and I think also being in gratitude, because Heather and I, even the challenges, being grateful for those, because they've helped us grow and realize things that we should be doing differently. And even the worst things can be a grateful moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I truly believe if you're willing to have the perception of this, that everything is serving your highest, greatest good. Everything is an instrument for our awakening. There's medicine in everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, what is a ritual that, you know, it's kind of short and maybe everyone watching at home can try with you ladies right now?
Well, one of the things that we've been doing a lot, and we have a community right now that's on a 21-day challenge, about 2,500 people. So
Incredible.
we're getting a lot of feedback.
What's the challenge?
It's basically for 21 days. What you do is you get up and you do an 11-minute ritual, which entails listening to this meditation and then cutting the cords. And so what we're doing is we're teaching people, and people have been doing this that have no idea about crystals because everyone's feeling overwhelmed right now, and bringing it really simple. So basically thinking of something or someone that, or a situation that you want to cut the cords with.
Can I use that other one and do it?
Yeah.
Let's all do it.
Let's do
And
it.
so the thing about this is that when you cut the cords, it's not as if you're cutting people out of your life.
Okay.
You're just cutting the energy that might be sucked. So a lot of people are like, I feel so tired. I don't even feel like myself. Because maybe they have so much of everybody else's energy on themselves, they don't even know what's theirs and what's somebody else's. So
Got it.
when you cut the cords and you send somebody's energy and plug it into another source, church, temple, mountain, high frequency energy, and then you feed that whole energetic hold up with light, you feel different. So if you think about just quickly a situation.
Speaking of, right when I just really let myself get with it, I'm so energy sensitive with crystals. I was like, zoinks.
Everyone
zapped.
needs this. If you could buy only one stone on the planet, everybody,
Selenite.
it's
Minimal
liquid,
investment.
It's liquid
Love
light.
it.
It is the best medicine right now. But if you use it, I love this because you could use it as a blade, and then you could use it as a wand to heal
I feel
you.
it so
Is it
much.
insane?
It's so
you could even clear your energy. Exactly.
Yeah,
Now,
that's what I
Like
was
coming
see
it
what's
off.
so cool is you innately knew what to do.
Well, it's because I do it all this stuff every day, though.
But I love it because the thing is that we can all do these things,
Well,
and it doesn't
and
have to be some.
These are the ancient truths that we
Exactly.
used to live by. So
Yeah.
I think that's my most exciting thing about this shift in paradigm and us returning to these ancient truths is just like, it's all within us. Most of us are
Yes.
old enough souls that if you do immerse in a shamanic meditation or come to one of your rituals, you do just remember.
Yeah,
And then once you remember, you're just like, oh gosh, what else do I remember?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yes.
And so when you think of what cord you want to cut, then you just kind of get clear on what that intention is, like what you're finally ready to clear yourself of, and then use this and like symbolically like hacking.
Cut it.
Hacking the
But
cord.
what's interesting with people is they're finding that one thing that they thought they were cutting away, what comes up is something when they were like maybe 7 years old on the playground and somebody said they were fat.
Yep.
And at that moment, that's what they started to believe, and then they had weight problems.
Yeah.
So you're finding that people are doing their own therapy in a way and using this as an amazing medicine to heal themselves.
So we really look at the crystals
Yeah.
as a tool.
It's a
The
tool.
work's got to be
If you think
there,
a crystal is
right?
going to change your life, you're going to be so bummed because it's not. The only person that can change your life is you. This is another tool to help you tap into you. And sometimes we run from ourselves, and this helps.
Easy
you
to do.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, those blind spots and those shadow aspects. I'm so glad that I had my divine intervention, and now I'm just dedicated to facing those scary aspects of myself, those imperfect aspects about myself, because that has been the biggest game changer. And I'm also so grateful that I have friends in my life too that in a very loving, compassionate way will speak to me about a blind spot.
Right.
Thank God for that medicine.
Well, you have good friends.
Yeah,
I
got to
do.
try.
You've attracted good people around you.
Amen. Aho to
Yeah.
that. So a couple quick things before we wrap. I was really fascinated when I was learning more about you, Timmi, Heather, sorry, is that I saw that you're a mom. And with your parenting style, you were really being clear that you wanted to parent in a different way to start to shift some of the lineage patterns. And I think there are so many of us here this lifetime that serve as that role for our families. We are, I say it a lot, we are the shifters in the ancestry. We're the shifters in the line. So what has come up for you, and what are you shifting for your family dynamic?
I personally feel that my kids are my teachers. And I have an Aquarius and I have a Leo. So I got some strong chillins. But when I grew up, we didn't sit around the dinner table and be like, how are you feeling today? What came up for you? How was school, or how was this? We didn't talk about all those things. And I think that these kids coming in today are so advanced. I mean,
yes. Yes.
They're tapped in.
My
They're
little
tapped in.
brother has the Sanskrit chakra symbols, like a sleeve, and he's like, it's still, a teenager. I'm just like, whoa.
No, they get it. They are hardwired in a way that we are not hardwired.
I agree.
And they're here to teach us a lot. And so sometimes I have to get out of that pattern, and I try to listen more and listen to what they want versus what I think that they need to be doing. And it's a lot of repatterning of my own stuff. Versus if I didn't come at it that way and just listen to them, they know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying let it go rampant, but they have a voice, and to let them express it and let them get out their hurts and pains and not stuff it in, because it's going to come out later, and then there's big therapy sessions.
Right.
There's therapy bills. So I'm like, can we wrap this up so you don't have to do 30,000 like I did? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Let's talk about it. Let's feel it. Let's go to that uncomfortable spot that we usually stop ourselves before we cry.
Yes.
Let's cry in bed. Let's
Feel.
Let's feel
Let
it.
it out.
And my son, his name is Orion.
Oh, of
And
course.
he's like, Jesus, why does everything have to be so intense? Why do we have to talk about everything?
So how old is he?
He's 17.
And he's already getting that, I feel like, because you know what I'm saying? At
Yeah.
my age, wow. So
Yeah.
he's already doing that kind of work.
Well, they don't have a choice. They've
Well,
been
what are
around
they going
us.
to do? I mean, Tibetan music's on in the morning when they wake up. There's mantra. I mean, what are they in? I mean, I'm like, the next book will be our kids. Growing
Yes.
up with these two.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
For real?
probably
Maybe
it'd be smart
That's
for
a
public.
great- I
No,
know,
it
it's a
is.
good idea.
I
a
mean,
different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of your book, it's sitting right here. I have it at home.
Oh,
I love
yay.
it.
Thank you.
Even for different offerings that I do with talks and things, I've definitely dibble dabbled into the crystals.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you so
And
much.
Yeah. How is it going? Tell everyone at home about it.
Things have been great because it's just packed full of information about crystals. So many of the crystal books that are out there are really like, this is blue lace agate. It comes from South Africa, but what do I do with it? So we really wanted to give easy rituals or formulas that when you work with them as a tool, you get a result.
Love it.
And people don't have to look at it from cover to cover. They can just go to the spots that they want to learn about, like love or how to sleep better, make some more money, all of that.
I love it.
Yeah.
So good. Well, speaking of, I have a gift for you, lady.
Oh my God, we have a gift for you too.
wow.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And it's in
Yay,
my purse over there.
Present time. So this is actually a gift from me to you through Asha Patel. Do you know Asha Patel?
Wait a second. Wait.
Asha Patel, she is a designer.
Oh, wow.
And
Her name
she-
is so cool. I
Yes.
mean, geez. Wow. I feel
She-
that's like,
So I'm just
bam.
going to intuitively go like this.
Oh, my
wow.
You
gosh.
dive in and open it up really quickly.
Wow.
Wow, I love her logo.
This is
She's
unbelievable.
incredible. I
Wow.
wear her pieces every day, and she is such a mindful. She energetically charges everything
Wow.
before she sends them out.
Whoa.
Is it?
Oh
Oh my
my
God.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Moonstone.
Asha Patel, I'm so honored. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
that is
Thank you so much.
crazy.
Isn't
I'm
it?
gonna put it on right now.
I
so
know.
Beautiful.
That is
Yeah.
gorgeous. How did we get so lucky? Thank you.
Well, she felt very called
Oh my
to
God, how
share with
nice.
you. She obviously, just like me, loves the work that you two are doing and wanted
Wow.
to.
Wow. Oh, it feels so
that
good.
looks so nice.
I love
Sorry.
it. I
I'm
love
loving
that.
it.
And
Wow.
labradorite was such a mainstone for
Wow.
me on my path. It was the very first crystal I ever started working with, the
I
first
almost
out-of-body
bought you-
experience.
When I was coming today, because I'm like, I'm going to bring you a stone, which is in my purse. I'm going to give it to you. Some spirit labradorite. It kept coming all day, and now here it is again.
That's amazing. Is it one that's been really impactful for you as well?
Well, yeah. Don't you love it? All the lights and the darkness. Through the darkness,
It's like an
you find the light.
aurora borealis
no, it's
almost
insane.
sometimes.
And I've
insane.
also, a lot of people told me it's the stone for shamans too.
Oh yeah, and I bet it looks amazing on you.
It does.
Like this is
I
gonna look
normally
amazing
wear it,
on
but I felt
me.
this
I
one's
can't
too
wait.
lined.
Woo!
So before we wrap, is there any other because I know that myself being a conscious person and also an entrepreneur, there's a lot to navigating both of those fields, especially
Yeah.
when you're doing them both at once.
Wow.
Before we go, is there any other piece of advice that you would like to give those watching, either about the entrepreneurial path or the awakening path?
I don't know, the one thing that comes to me is when we first started, there was this balance of spirituality and abundance. And so I think a lot of the times we were programmed into we can't have both. But if we don't have abundance, we can't continue to teach the spirituality and help people. So I think that that's one thing that we've had to learn along the way. And it hasn't been easy. Again, you heard our story. I don't know what else.
But you transcended that, and that is huge. And a lot of my healer friends and I, that topic comes up a lot, because with this new paradigm that's being created on Earth, maybe traditionally, hundreds or thousands of years ago, yes, there was no money to exchange, or so it is a whole new thing that's coming up. And I have done personally so much work with really getting to a place within myself where it's true self-worth, true self-love, true self-honor, anchoring into Gaia more, getting into my physical body more. And it's been through those practices that I've aligned more and more with abundance and prosperity. And I'm proud of that. It is one of the...
Well, look what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what you're doing.
Thank
So
you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Like empowering.
I know.
And I love it. I love being around people like this. Yeah.
I think too what's different because there's two of us, so I handle more of like the money part of things. And
Okay.
I think that there is a linear part of things and then there's more of the visionary part of things. And that's what Heather is so good at. So our energies come together. If she had to deal with the money part all day long in spreadsheets and thank goodness I have these to look at and remind me to be grounded and happy again and not be so linear.
Right.
It would drive her crazy and vice versa. So we kind of divide and conquer.
I love
We've
that
been
so
really
much.
lucky
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah. That's cool.
Any parting words from you, Heather?
I stay in the light. We all need to stay in the light as much as possible. We're more powerful than we ever thought. We can clear our energy as a shaman quickly now. It's the gateways are open for us.
Are they
I mean,
ever?
they are. And I just am glad to see empowering women such as yourself who are out there on the forefront. So thank you. Who leading the way, inspiring others, giving people a voice to educate and be aware. So thank you for this opportunity. We're so
Thank
grateful.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that medicine that you just provided me. It's my greatest honor, truly to the depths of my ancient cellular core and being, to be here this lifetime doing this work. It has definitely brought with it a lot of initiations and challenges and tests, but it's truly my greatest honor. So thank you for seeing me and honoring what I'm here on Earth to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I can't wait for book number 2. I can't wait for everything that you ladies are up to. They can find you on Instagram. You're at Energy Muse, right? And where
Yes.
else can they find you and dive more into these practices?
You know, energymuse.com is a great place because we have so much free information on our blog. And if you have any questions about crystals, we really hope to answer them and take out the scary part of how do I even start. So, in our book are a whole bunch of secrets, and you get that at Amazon and
Probably
our website.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And on our website.
Yeah.
Yay. I honor you both. Thank you for staying
Thank
the
you.
course and returning to normalcy as it should be, that there are healing properties and magnificence with working with crystals.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yay.
Thanks so much.
All right.
I love this necklace, and I do
I
have a
know.
present